The Trojan War does not begin with soldiers or weapons. It begins with a conflict amongst the gods. In Greek myth, a god's divine pride often leads to human suffering. The Trojan War began at a centaur's wedding feast, which was held for Peleus, father of the great Achilles, and Thetis, a sea nymph, a goddess of water. All the gods were invited except Eris, the goddess of discord. Angered by the insult, Eris sought revenge. For Eris, revenge meant chaos, and she threw the golden apple of discord into the wedding feast. The apple was marked with the words, "To the fairest." 3 goddesses claimed it: Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. The goddesses argued fiercely over the golden apple. To prevent fighting among themselves, the gods chose Prince Paris of Troy to judge who was the most beautiful of all the goddesses. Paris was a mortal, but his decision would shape the fate of nations. Each goddess offered Paris a reward for picking the fairest goddess. Hera promised political power and kingship. Athena promised wisdom and victory in war. But Aphrodite promised him Helen of Sparta, the most beautiful woman in the world. Although the decision overwhelmed Prince Paris, he eventually chose Aphrodite as the fairest. Obviously, this decision offended Hera and Athena. That single choice set a great war in motion. Paris traveled to Sparta and, aided by Aphrodite, claimed his prize by smuggling Helen back to Troy. Helen's husband, Menelaus, king of Sparta, demanded her return. The act violated xenia, the sacred law of hospitality, and activated the Oath of Tyndareus, a binding pledge sworn by all of Helen's former suitors to defend her marriage. Because Helen had been considered the greatest prize in the world, the oath transformed a personal offense into a collective obligation, drawing the Greek kings toward war. King Agamemnon gathered the Greek armies. Warriors from many city-states answered the call. Their goal was clear: recover Helen and punish Troy. Ruled by the pious King Priam, Troy's walls rose nearly 50 feet high and were considered impossible to breach. For almost 10 years, the Greeks laid siege to the city without success. Neither side could secure a decisive victory. Many heroes fought in the war, including Achilles, the greatest Greek warrior. King Agamemnon served as the leader and commander of the Greek forces. While Achilles embodied unmatched individual strength, Agamemnon represented unchecked political authority, a power that often conflicted with heroism. The conflict shows how an army collapses when leadership abandons honor and strength refuses to obey. The bond between soldier and king rested on obligation. The king was bound to honor his warriors, and the warriors were bound to fight for him. When Agamemnon dishonored Achilles, that bond shattered, and the Greek army weakened as a result. Angered and humiliated, Achilles refused to fight for Agamemnon. Without him, the Greeks suffered heavy losses, and Troy gained the advantage, not through superior strategy, but through Agamemnon's hubris. On the other side, Paris's brother, Prince Hector, was Troy's strongest and most honorable warrior. He fought to protect his city, his family, and his people. His courage made Troy's resistance possible, albeit with the help of Ares, the god of war. As is typical in Greek mythology, the gods did not remain distant observers. They took sides and interfered directly in the fighting. Poseidon and Athena supported the Greeks, opposing Troy, while Apollo and Aphrodite aided the Trojans. Because of his feud with Agamemnon, Achilles refused to fight. Patroclus, Achilles' closest companion, rejected this withdrawal and entered battle wearing Achilles' armor to defend the Greek army. His death at the hands of Hector transformed the course of the war. Overcome with grief and rage over the death of Patroclus, Achilles returned to battle. His strength and speed overwhelmed the Trojan forces, and the fighting became savage and relentless. Outside the main fighting, Achilles dueled Hector beyond the walls of Troy. Hector was killed in single combat. Overwhelmed by rage, Achilles then dragged Hector's body behind his chariot, dishonoring both Hector and himself, and shocking both armies. After Hector's death, Achilles continued to devastate the Trojan forces. His return made Greek victory seem inevitable, yet fate intervened. Paris struck Achilles with an arrow, guided by Apollo. Achilles was killed before the fall of Troy, and never witnessed the city's destruction. Prince Paris was later killed by Philoctetes, whose poisoned arrow ended the life of the man who had sparked the war. With both Paris and Achilles dead, the conflict continued without its central figures, driven now by momentum rather than heroism. As the war neared its end, the Greeks turned to deception rather than force. At the urging of Odysseus, and with the favor of Athena, they built a massive wooden horse, hid soldiers inside it, and pretended to sail away.
I trust people that say I don't know, maybe not a pilot.
After the Greeks appeared to be gone, the Trojans went to where the Greeks had been camped. King Priam did not want to dishonor himself or the gods, so he accepted the gift. Laocoon, a Trojan priest, warned King Priam that the horse was a trick and struck it to test it. Laocoon said, "Beware of Greeks bearing gifts." Soon after, sea serpents killed Laocoon and his sons. The Trojans believed the gods were angry at Laocoon for attacking what they thought was a sacred gift. So they honored the Greeks' xenia and pulled the horse into Troy. Believing the horse to be a sacred gift, the Trojans brought it inside their city. That night, Greek soldiers emerged from the Trojan horse and opened the gates. The Greek army returned from the sea and stormed Troy. Undefended, the city of Troy was destroyed, and King Priam was killed. Under the command of King Agamemnon, the Greeks sacked the city through deception and violence. The war ended not in honor, but in ruin, leaving devastation.